When I bought the old Mill Lake property, everyone told me the same thing. Be careful. The HOA thinks they own it. That sounded ridiculous. The property had been abandoned for years after the old mill shut down. The lake, the dam, and the surrounding wood had slowly been forgotten. Eventually, the entire parcel went up for auction. I hired a title company, reviewed every document, and purchased it legally. The deed was recorded with the county. As far as I knew, everything was straightforward. Apparently, the HOA had a very different opinion. 2 days after I installed new private property signs around the lake, Karen, the HOA president, showed up with 3 board members. She walked right onto my property without asking. "You need to remove those signs," she demanded. I asked why. "Residents have used this lake for years." I nodded. "That may be true, but I own it now." Karen laughed. "No, the community owns it." I pulled a copy of my deed from my truck. She didn't even look at it. Instead, she claimed the HOA had always controlled the lake. I asked for proof. She had none. Before leaving, Karen pointed toward the signs. "If those aren't gone tomorrow, we'll handle it ourselves." I assumed she was bluffing. She wasn't. The following weekend, dozens of HOA residents were fishing from my shoreline. Families were setting up picnic tables. Someone had even installed temporary volleyball nets near the water. It looked like a public park. I politely explained that the property was now privately owned. Most people were surprised. Several apologized and left immediately. Karen, however, called the police. When the deputies arrived, she confidently announced that I was blocking community property. The lead deputy asked for my identification. Then he asked the same question every property dispute begins with: who owns the land? I handed him my recorded deed. Karen handed him an HOA newsletter from 2014. The deputy looked at both documents. Then he looked at Karen. "Do you have a deed?" "No." "A lease?" "No." "A court order?" "No." The deputy calmly explained that property ownership is determined by recorded legal documents, not neighborhood traditions. Karen insisted the HOA had rights because residents had used the lake for decades. The deputy replied politely, "Long-time use doesn't automatically create ownership." The officers advised everyone to leave while the ownership issue was reviewed. Karen wasn't happy. 2 days later, I received a letter from the HOA attorney demanding I reopen the lake immediately. My attorney smiled when he read it. Then he made one phone call to the county records office. The next morning he called me back. "I think I found something." Hidden inside property records dating back more than 80 years was an easement filing created when the old mill was still operating. At first, I assumed it helped the HOA. It didn't. The easement granted only one specific right. County maintenance crews could access a narrow service road leading to the dam for inspections and emergency repairs. Nothing else. No fishing rights. No recreation. No HOA access. No public use. Just maintenance. My attorney immediately sent copies of the recorded easement to the HOA. Karen ignored them. Instead, she ordered contractors to remove my new entrance gate. Unfortunately for her, my security cameras recorded everything. The footage showed workers cutting the lock and dragging the gate aside. This time, deputies didn't arrive for a property disagreement. They arrived to investigate property damage. The contractors quickly explained that Karen told them the HOA owned the entrance. When deputies asked for documentation proving that claim, she had nothing. Again, the county inspector also became interested after learning someone had interfered with a protected access road covered by the historic easement. Ironically, Karen's actions had blocked the very maintenance route the county was legally entitled to use. Within days, the county issued notices requiring the damaged access road and gate to be restored exactly as recorded in the easement documents. The HOA board held an emergency meeting. Several members admitted they had relied entirely on Karen's claims without ever reviewing county records. She quietly resigned before the next meeting. The HOA later reimbursed me for the damaged gate, fencing repairs, legal fees, and security upgrades through a settlement. As for the lake, I reopened a small section to the public, but on my terms. I partnered with the county to create a limited access fishing program during certain weekends. Visitors signed permits. The shoreline stayed protected. Everyone knew exactly where they could and couldn't go. Funny enough, the lake became more organized than it had ever been. Today, the original easement is framed inside my home office, not because it's valuable, but because it reminds me of something important. People can argue, rumors can spread, HOAs can make demands. But when property rights are backed by recorded documents, one old filing in the county archives can change everything.